Chetan, first of all, why do you think he's such a star? I mean, even while we're interviewing Chetan, there are these kids all over the place waiting to get a glimpse of him. Since when did writers become such stars?
You're being very kind. I'm not such a big star.
Just turn around and look.
Yeah.
Okay, look there.
Well, they've read my books and they're just curious what I'm up to. But it's a lit fest, so book lovers come here. But I don't know. I think somewhere down the line something has connected with my writing in their hearts. I don't know these people, but the readership has continued to grow, and they feel a close connection with me.
I'll get straight to the bit about the Salman Rushdie statement that you gave yesterday. A lot of people are really pissed off about it because they say, as a writer, you should actually be advocating free speech rather than say that we should not make heroes of those who offend others.
I am advocating free speech, but not making heroes out of those who offend is two separate arguments.
You're talking about Rushdie specifically.
I am not. I never comment on specific writers. I'm talking of a general framework in which how these authors who have been told to be blasphemous should be how do we approach this problem? Because it's not just him. There are many in this world, and we need to understand that, of course, number one, as a writer, I uphold the right to free speech. Anybody who's writing anything else is lazy journalism. That I've said I'm opposing free speech. I'm just saying if you write something that hurts other people, that's what it is. I mean, it can hurt.
That's what it is. Yeah, but
if I write
but
a
does
column,
that mean
if I write a column, I'll give you an example. If I write a column on women, which is degrading, right? If I write a degrading column for women, a lot of women groups will attack me for it, right? But if I start making it a heroic thing, look at my freedom of speech, look at my freedom of speech, how it's being violated. That's not the point.
But
the point is,
part of what a writer does is being provocative historically.
He has the right to do it.
Writers are, and literary figures, if you were to take literature seriously, and cinema, different forms of literature, how they actually impact society is through provocative writing.
I am provocative too. I mean, I'm making provocative statements all the time. But when you are specifically attacking a religion's God, I don't think that there's any provocation being done, there's any reform in mind. I don't think there is anything like that. It just hurts. I would, as a believer, I would feel hurt, and I'm not going to go, like someone said, if someone says something offensive, it can hurt you, but you can't go and sock their nose.
Right, exactly.
But
that's my point.
So
it
that's
could
all
hurt
I'm saying.
You, but
that's all I'm saying.
So
if someone hurts,
if someone hurts people, should have been here. It would have enriched the.
Yeah, of course. I think, and let me be very clear. Some people are also making the argument that how can I talk about him? He's a much bigger stature writer.
I don't think that's got anything to do with
anything. That's got nothing to do with it. His accomplishments as a writer are far more.
We are talking purely
on this issue.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about him that's why. I'm talking about any book. Because are we incentivizing attacking our gods? Are we not?
But at the same time, accepting an attack on someone who did attack a god, are we incentivizing a certain fundamentalist take on religion?
Whatever I am saying that he has the right to write it.
And therefore
I'm not saying everybody has a right to write and move around wherever they want in the world. Liberty is not, and obviously compromisable. That is not what I'm saying. People can condemn him. And they have the right to condemn him,
right?
But they can't ban him.
Sure,
and that's what I've been saying all this time.
Right.
But I don't understand. That is very clear. But I'm saying if you make somebody who writes things that actually is attacking a religious, like a god, should you make a hero out of it?
That is subjective. I think I personally, I think
for you it's okay, and for me it's not. But then what is the need to jump on me then?
Absolutely.
Right? I am just saying there is a segment of people out there who feel hurt by this. They will not go and ban him. They will not issue threats against him, but they are getting hurt. Do you want to make someone who's doing that a hero? It's your personal choice. If in your book it is, it's fine. But I'm just saying, are we not, we should be careful.
Right. Let's now move beyond this to literature. Like when you said there's a lit fest, literature is a very heavy word. Do you look at what you write as literature? And a second question, then you can answer both together. Do you think there's a difference between literature and pulp, and is that difference acknowledged?
Well, I'm not a literature student and I'm not a literature researcher. So I don't classify my work as this is literature and that is literature. I think of course it is literature. It is expressing something in a written format is literature. Whether it's good or bad, that's subjective. And that everybody you meet will have a different view on it. But fortunately for me, a lot of people do think it's good. So I'm surviving because of that. But what is literature, what is not literature, it is definitely not an elitist concept.
Right.
It has
And you
been
see,
like that.
and you see that there's a lot of that happens in a lot of discussions on literature where this is
Yes, and it's become an old and boring topic that,
Yeah.
what is literature, and you need to be I don't think books are something that is only for experts who have a master's in a particular vocabulary,
Right.
or who have very high English standards with them. I don't think that's literature.
Okay, how important is language
If
to
you ask
connect?
these so-called experts who are claiming this is literature and not, they won't be able to even define literature.
Sure.
They lack the thought clarity. What they're talking is, it was an elitist thing. Why are you going and making it public? It's like people sitting in a gymkhana club, and I've gone and knocked the walls down and say anybody can come in here. Of course, they're not going to be very happy with me.
So there's the democratization of writing.
It
does
needs
shake the power structure, and
It
that
needs to
happens
happen.
politically. I think that's a social. That's a throwback
been
on the
happening
caste
for
system.
centuries.
It happens in every aspect in India that don't disturb the club.
Yeah.
And if
And
the
that's
club
what-
is from a certain
And I don't
class,
believe
yeah.
in clubs.
Sure.
It's a country, it's not a country club. And even the JLF, even the Jaipur Literary Festival organizers, who in fact call me, and this is after 5 years that I've come and done a proper session. Before that, I've supported them to introduce new writers. I've come after 4 to 5 years because they repeatedly make requests to me to come. And they tell me that they will feel that they have not achieved their purpose in the festival if students don't walk in,
Absolutely.
if common people don't walk in. What is the point? It's not a party being done.
Right.
It's a literature festival for the country.
Right.
People who make such statements, I mean, you have the right to say anything against me, but people who,
I'm not, you understand?
No, I mean you or anybody, right?
I'm just kidding.
But to have a inaccurate understanding of what is literature and then claiming to be an expert, I mean, that's just foolish. And that's why nobody takes those people seriously.
Right.
And they keep saying this time and time again, but nobody's buying into their viewpoint anyway, right?
You're also very political in the sense that you write a lot of columns on the movement. You're a huge supporter of it. Thank you so much for that. And you have written, I read your last piece on silly season and the promises of this quota, that quota. This political engagement that you do, will you ever put that in a book? Because your books are about something that is not that heavy.
Yeah.
Is there any reason? Because obviously you feel about it. That's why you write columns about it, because that comes
Yeah.
from a position of passion. Why doesn't that come out in the book? Why are books about
There is
college and stuff?
two parts of me. There is an entertainer me and there is a reformer me.
Sure.
These are two passions to change the country, but equally important passion is to just bring the house down, like just make everybody laugh. And that's my art form, in a way, is the entertainment. So I wanted an outlet.
You have siblings? Sorry, just...
Yeah, I have a
Are you the
younger
youngest?
sibling,
Oh, you have a younger sibling. You're the older one. Okay.
So I have this need, I felt this need to express myself, the reformer me. That's why I took on the columns. It was an outlet so that I don't make my books too heavy. I don't want to burden the book with everything.
Okay.
So the books also have a reformist streak, but they are largely entertainment. The columns are purely reformist, maybe a little bit entertainment with the odd joke here and there. So these are, for me, I see them as two separate platforms, separate audiences, some overlap, yes, but
But you don't see yourself writing a book with...
maybe. And people,
the
are,
future,
my
when you're
publisher was
older.
talking about even compiling the columns and doing something. But I like that I have my space in the columns, which I can comment on something every 2 weeks.
Right.
But for a book, I need a 2-year lead time to get anything.
Okay. Now the Amir Chetan Bhagat battle, is that all resolved?
Firstly, there was no Amir Chetan Bhagat battle. There was a battle between Chetan Bhagat, it was not even a battle. It was an issue with the makers of Three Idiots.
Which was...
Amir Khan was an actor in the movie. This kind of...
That he made that one
and
statement,
you call
right?
yourself NewsLaundry, but these are the things I would like to advise you to check against. The first time you said something against Rushdie, I did not.
No, I didn't
said
say against.
Oh, no,
a lot of
I-
people are disappointed that you did not support his...
I have supported. I have said that the ban is wrong. I have said they should allow it. I have said on Twitter so many times that I have posted passages from the Quran which talks about forgiveness. I don't think anybody else has done that. All that is not, because the stereotype fits that two authors are
Two
fighting.
binary, yes, no,
Yeah,
I like,
and
I don't
even
like.
the Amir Khan.
But he did make a statement, I will remind you, because I saw that press conference where he specifically mentioned...
He can mention, but my issue was with the makers.
With the makers,
no.
so it wasn't okay. Yeah, but
The whole country was mentioning things, so he was an actor, so many other actors were there in the movie.
has that been resolved? Or,
Of
or
course
did
it's
that...
been resolved. Everybody knows that the Three Idiots were adapted from my book,
Right.
and that was my aim. So it got resolved by virtue of the controversy itself. There was no settlement required as such, because the matter became very clear. But it's a sign of changing Bollywood. It's a sign of writers'
Changing
demand.
how?
because this routinely happened there. The
That
concept
the
of
writer was
credit,
screwed over.
not just writer, but many other departments, the credits are in the hands of the producer. Whereas, and if the producer likes you a lot, he'll give you a better credit. If he doesn't like you, or if you have some difference, he will not give you, or if he wants to take it, he can take it. He feels he owns everything. But the copyright law doesn't allow that. You can own the economics of the film, but you can't take away the credit. You can buy a painting, but you can't say you painted it.
Right.
So that understanding was not there. So that issue or that controversy, what you want to call it, brought out that understanding, and after that copyright law amendments came, and I think in some ways sometimes it's useful. I don't think it's a controversy as such. It's just a different viewpoint, and it's good to discuss it and resolve and move on.
Okay. Of course, I'm not saying that I think so, but there was that talk of that's a publicity stunt for the filmmakers, and they wanted to play it up at the time.
It wasn't.
Could be.
It's a very big issue. When you're talking of plagiarization, it's a very big issue. And neither did that movie need publicity, and neither do I need that kind of publicity. If my credit was proper, the film has been made on my book, it's publicity enough. So it wasn't, but people say all sorts of things.
Okay, now let's come to news. News is facing huge credibility crisis, maybe because of the nature of television news, and some people saying it's too hysterical, the Radia tape. So a variety of things have kind of put news in the spotlight. What do you think of news today in India?
Well, news has changed dramatically. News coverage. News is, of course, what it was,
Right.
but news coverage has changed tremendously in the last 2 years. It is now no longer what is happening. It is what is happening and who agrees with it and who doesn't agree with it. It's always the debate.
So now you have to take a position.
You have to take a position. There has
Every
to be a
battle
debate.
is the Mahabharata.
If
There are no
something,
neutral
if
parties.
something is very important, but it's very clear cut, the channels won't cover it. If there are floods and relief needs to be there, they'll cover it a little bit. But they will not cover it as much if
They'll cover things with their opinions that
where
I
their
agree or I
opinions is
disagree.
polarization. In fact, a lot of this
And that's only for
issue
channels,
of
you
this
think, or even
author,
print?
it's because right now as we speak, there is no polarizing news. And the media monster needs something.
That's why
so if
Litfest is
nothing
getting
else,
so
that
much coverage.
Chetan said something
In fact,
off
that's
the
what I
cuff
thought. I
and-
said, it's a lean news period if Litfest is making all
well,
the headlines.
they have told me that many times that we have no news. I remember in the past when there was something I tweeted about Narayan Murthy and it became national
Yeah, I
headlines.
remember.
And they said, frankly, Chetan,
You were
there
on
was-
debate with Pai on that as well.
Yeah, they said that we had nothing to show on TV, and this was the only issue we thought our English language viewers will be interested in. And that's a little scary because,
You think that's just because the electronic media, the
that's
print
because
media doesn't
everything
have...
is about, the commerce is, there is because a lot of channels are not secure. A lot of channels are not making money or they're not secure because too many channels.
Most of them are not making money.
Yeah, so what is happening is there's a desperate bid to stay afloat. That is leading to ethical standards being compromised.
Okay.
And until there is a consolidation and only a few channels remain and who are secure of their profitability, then maybe they'll adopt standards. So I think a few...
But don't you think there's a danger in that because channels also have this, the promoter, if he's involved, like for example, Mukesh Ambani buying over, I mean, that's created a lot of
there'll be conflicts of
chatter.
interest all the time. There is conflicts of interest everywhere. But
gotta learn to
overall
live with it.
today, people do find out because of social networks, which will become a great, way
Source
to
of news
spot
even.
if there is any anomalies in reporting. Plus the competition. I mean, media is not a monopoly. I mean, it's a competition. So if somebody is being biased, somebody out there won't be. So it's still good. I'm still very optimistic. I think the media has done a great job in the last 2 years in setting the agenda for change a little bit.
You've often been on the receiving end of, how media covers. Like you just said right now that you're accusing me of being in the battle. Does it ever frustrate you? What has been your dynamic or engagement in the media? Sometimes have you ever got so pissed off that damn these cameras?
No,
and
I
reporters-
don't. I'm very thankful to the media. I am a writer and I have...
You think you're a product of the media?
I have no advertising. There's never a Chetan Bhagat ad, but people have known me through the media and of course through my books and social networks now. So media plays a very important role. I think the media has given me a lot of credibility. Whatever it is, people, whenever media reports my opinions, they report them because they think they are important. And they've all told me that we feel your voice is important. So I think overall it's okay. I don't get that frustrated, but sometimes I understand the motivation was something else and I've learned to just accept it, that they have to make it a little more sensational. They have to give a tadka, which I think the viewers also know, frankly.
Do you have a favorite? I'm going to ask you three favorite. One favorite author, books that you like reading of?
I really like George Orwell, who has brought about a lot of change through satires. I'm not as good, but everybody needs an inspiration. So people like him, Hemingway, people like Dickens, they are my space. I mean, they were
And in
long.
contemporary writers, anyone you
I
really
don't know,
like?
I'll read almost anything, but this book by Boomerang by Michael Lewis I'm reading. I'll read the Twilight series to just figure out what teenagers saw in it.
I see.
So a lot of simpler books I read which have made a big impact.
Okay, and do you have a favorite newspaper? And why?
Well, I write columns for the Times of India and Dainik Bhaskar. Much as I like Times of India, and I write for them and they give me the reach.
But they also sell
But
editorial
I
space.
don't like what they do with the editorials so much. But the main paper of the Times has been, by and large, unbiased. And I know it is because the way it's structured.
And do you have a favorite news channel?
I don't want to say it, man. All are my friends. I don't want to speak.
But you aren't going to commit to a channel.
No, why should I? I mean,
Just
I don't
check.
commit to anybody. I'm telling you, even when people ask me about Anna's movement, I commit to the cause. I will never commit to a personality or
Sure.
a particular channel because I want to be true to myself.
Any specific coverage of any event that you thought was way too over the top and coverage that you thought was very good? A moment of pride for the Indian news media, electronic, and a moment of shame, what would it be?
I do think the Anna movement was a moment of pride. I think it was something which without the media it wouldn't have really, I mean, of course, it connected with people, but the media did give the right positioning and it went the right way. And moment of shame, I don't know. I mean, it's very hard to say.
26/11, because everyone says 26/11.
No, even that whole Narayan Murthy thing, I mean, it was really not required for me to pit me against that. I made a comment on his comment. It wasn't a me versus him battle. Neither is mine battle today, like for example, with another author. I don't need to do that. But I want to discuss issues. I want to understand, if I talk about the education system, I can say I don't agree with this gentleman.
Sure.
If I want to
It
talk
need
about...
not be a battle. It doesn't always
It's
have to
not
be
a battle, it's a difference of opinion, and I'm doing it with respect. I'm not calling anybody personal names, but it was shown as that, like with the cutaways and beats and all that dang Murthy versus Bhagat, which I mean, what is my auqat to take on Narayan Murthy, yaar, and what is my auqat to take on Mr. Rushdie? I mean, they're all accomplished writers. He won a Booker Prize when I was born, 74. So there is no way I'm comparing, but I just wanted to bring out that there is always two
You can
sides.
have an opinion, even if the
I want
other
to
person is
encourage
very
young
accomplished,
people to have
absolutely.
opinions. It's not like, you can't give an opinion on them. They're like,
You shouldn't be underconfident about giving an opinion.
no
just
holy cows. And as long as you're respectful, polite, I think it's fine.
Okay, fewer battles and more opinions. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining us.